Right, what's happening, people, and welcome back to the Joey Knight podcast. I am very lucky once again today to be joined by my friend Joel Beya. Joel, how's it going, mate?
Joey, man, great to see you again. Really good video last week. I enjoyed having an honest chat. I feel like coming on your channel, I can be like the real me.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes I guess when we do our content, we're like, for me anyway, like caricatures of ourselves, and I play the Arsenal guy, but I think here you provide a platform where it's just like really good football chat. So thanks for having me on again.
Appreciate that, mate. Listen, I've got to be honest, I was very, very impressed because I know you're a grafter, but mate, you was brave in the weather. You was at the game, weren't you?
I was at Chelsea
doing a
Arsenal.
bit of the fan cams outside the ground and whatnot. Obviously, really, really good content, and you're getting that all of the time from all of your platforms. But the main one that I want to point people out to is your Instagram is going to be linked in the description to this video. So make sure you head over there, you follow Joel. Obviously, pretty much all of the big games you're at, I would say.
So even though it's no secret I'm an Arsenal fan, I do interviews with players across the board. So, you know, it doesn't matter which team or whatever. I was actually supposed to post up an interview and a picture of me and Hazard, one of my favorite moments when I went to your training ground at Cobham, when he retired. But I just got a little bit busy, but I thought, what a day, what a guy, random.
That's a topic that I reckon at some point we should cover, whether it's on the 5 channel, whether it's on here. Whereabouts does Hazard rank? Because I think there's a lot of people that sort of have little bits of disagreements over that at times. I see the Sanchez comparison the other day, Alexis Sanchez.
Are you serious?
I won't go too far into it, but I see it and I was like, right, I've got to debate this with someone.
Bro, I'll be honest with you, even as an Arsenal fan, I have to say Hazard was levels, bro. Like levels. There was one point where Hazard was so good that even though Belgium had KDB, he was still the main. Like, we all know how good KDB is. Do you know what I mean? So, but Hazard was still shining levels. Like I don't know if it was the eating. I don't know what it was, but what a guy.
Crazy, man, when you look at that little golden generation of Belgium players. I know we still got De Bruyne there, but let's see how they do in the Euros, because a lot of those sort of stars are now fading away. Going back to the game on Saturday, obviously massive match. We previewed it in here. We were both excited for it. And do you know what? Without sort of patting ourselves on the back, I don't think we were too far off.
No, we were right, innit?
Yeah, in terms of what we saw. From an Arsenal perspective, 2 points dropped or 1 point gained?
I think it sounds good to say 1 point gained because we went 2-0 down. But I think at this stage where Chelsea are with their project, we should be beating them.
Yeah.
I think so. I think if you look at City or the seasons where Liverpool have won it or come extremely close, they win those type of games they have to win. And I think we're in a particular situation here because it's Chelsea, it's Arsenal. You know, this was one of those games where you are the better side in London, or you're supposed to be. You finished in a higher position. It's like Man City and Man United. When they go across to play United, there's games where you go, yeah, City should win that. They should win it, you know. And I think we got, I don't want to say got lucky. I think it was good spirit. You know, we did get lucky because Sanchez made it easier for us. And I think
I will just say with that Declan Rice shot though,
it's brilliant, isn't it?
Did what he had to do perfectly, because I tell you what, if that falls to a Chelsea player with the sort of shooting record we've had of recent, I'm not putting my mortgage on it for that to go in.
Mate, no, he just hit it first time. Like, honestly, that guy, we're going to talk about it, but obviously that guy, for me, he's real leadership material, man. I really like Declan Rice, man, a lot. Like, I have a passion for how much I like him because of his spirit, you know, and that's what you need, man. We were down and out. Do you know what I'm saying? Yes, the keeper made a mistake, but to have a cool head, and I don't think he was particularly great that game either, if I'm honest with you. But sometimes you don't need someone to be great for 90 minutes. Sometimes you just need someone to provide moments for you, you know. And that's why, as much as I think Luis Suarez is the best Liverpool striker that I've seen in a minute, like maybe since Torres or whatever, or a young 18-year-old Michael Owen, the thing with Salah is, good game, bad game, he is there for the moments. And as much as sometimes we get onto him about that, you need those type of players. Hazard was like that some games. Even though I think he played better in most games than he did, more than being quiet, but he could just produce that moment of magic. Now, I know that's not really Declan Rice. Declan Rice isn't any of those players I've discussed there, but you still need players that can make things happen, whether that be a Roy Keane at United or whatever it is. You need people that can go Lampard. You need people that can go, right, I'm grabbing hold of this.
And a player who's not known massively for goal scoring, 2 out of your 3 biggest games so far this season, he's come up trumps.
United and Chelsea,
Yeah. So obviously we spoke a little bit about whether there would be some sort of emotional come down. And the thing that I was sort of caveating that with was the fact that obviously there's been an international break. Players have had time now to rest, recoup. Certain massive names for you like Ben White don't even go away on international duty, which for me is an absolute head scratcher, but that's a story for another day. Yeah. But do you think that did play in a little bit in terms of being a little bit of an emotional come down from that Man City win?
I think, for me, I don't think it was, I think the international break came at a bad time for us. I think once you beat City, you want to get back on your bike straight away. For me, if we could have played 3-4 days later, happy days. But like I said last week on the show, people, it was always going to be a tricky game. Yep. I was talking with one of my barbers, my barber's mate, whilst I was getting a little quick trimming, and he was just like, yeah, we're going to smash Chelsea. I'm like, have you seen some of the potential of some of these players? I might take the mix sometimes. I go, oh yeah, they spent a lot of money, but all jokes aside, you've got some decent players. And on top of that, you've got players that are starting to turn towards positive form, like the Cucureas of this world. We spoke about him last week. Again, another decent game. You know what I mean? Like to be fair, he did well against Saka. Yes, it was a great cross from Saka for Trossard's goal, but let's be honest, he did pretty well. So, Joey, I have to be a realist on this show. We don't have a name for this show or whatever it is, but hopefully we get a show sorted. But
we're working on it, so if you lot have got any suggestions, you know where to put them. Get them in the comments.
Honestly, Joey, Chelsea showed, even Rio, I spoke to Rio in a group chat. Rio was just like, they've set the benchmark, this Chelsea side now. Coming
after that international break as well, one of the main things I would say is, we're always going to struggle, and this is a slight hindrance of our recruitment maybe, but 2 of our most influential players are obviously South Americans. Now, that's not to say you don't buy South Americans because of international breaks, but, when you've got a 3-day, 4-day turnaround.
That's tough.
You got Caicedo and Enzo coming back from international duty. Long old flights all the way from, obviously, Argentina and Ecuador, respectively. And then they got to come straight back into a match like Arsenal, game. Crunch clash. You had Cole Palmer got sent home from international duty, as did Amanda Broja, who obviously didn't feature in the match. So I think both teams had obviously their concerns going into the match, but what we saw didn't to me look like 10th against 2nd. It looked like the team that are going to be right up there or thereabouts competing for the league in Arsenal, against maybe a team that are pushing for sort of Champions League spaces. So it goes to speak about the competitive of this league. You look how it's shaped up already. There's not one team in that top 8 that you wouldn't expect to be there. I remember I think I was saying this to maybe you before or someone, but I remember that season when Blackpool came up. I think it was 15 games in, they were still in the top 4 or something like that. You often see it with this point of the season. You're going to at least have 2 teams in there that you're like, oh, what are you doing that high? The league's shaping up already, and it's showing how competitive things are. So, any concerns from an Arsenal's perspective for you?
A little bit. I don't want to be like the negative Nancy or anything like that, but that's 3 games this season that I think we should have put teams away. And some people might go, oh yeah, there's a lot of time to go, but I think, for example, if you look at Tottenham, I think where they were at the time, now everyone's going Tottenham, they might challenge for the league. Yeah, they were playing well, but that was still a few games ago. I think you should be putting them away at the Emirates. Fulham, I think we should have put them away as well. I don't think that should have finished a draw. You need to turn up and beat Fulham. It's just as simple as. Chelsea away, where Chelsea are at the current moment, you want to step on their necks, because you know that if this is the type of game that will just, there's turning moments where the pendulum can swing a little bit, and you don't want to, and it's not just a draw, it's a good performance, and it will give you the confidence maybe for the rest of the season, and you don't want that. You do not want to be part of that, building Chelsea up. And I think when I look at those 3 games, we haven't lost, but I go, you need to start finishing teams off, because otherwise that's an extra 6 points, and you're going to need that against City if you're in the title running. You're going to need that space. Look at how much breathing space we had coming into the last month of the season, the last 5-6 weeks, and we still didn't win.
I think you boys are sort of cooking up nicely, because I look at the fact you're on the same amount of points after 8 games that you were last season. Last season, after 8 games, you'd only played one sort of big direct rival in Manchester United. And although you were the better team in that and they caught you on the counter a couple of times, it was a match that you lost 3-1. Yeah. This time, after 8 games, you've played 3 big matches. You've took points in all of those matches. You've beat both Manchester clubs. And you've got a team now that have a lot more strength in depth. Also, you can say what you like about the signing of Havertz, but when you look at the sort of signings of Havertz, obviously Zinchenko last season, even Gabby Jesus, they all fit a certain profile in terms of being players that can play multiple different positions. And obviously, when it comes to having strength in depth, I think that you almost cover yourself. It's almost like having an extra body in, because you ain't just got a number 8. You got a fella that can play number 8, can play a bit of number 9, can play out wide. So,
which is smart. I think it's smart. But Joey, and I think obviously when you lay it out like that, great, it's good. I'm not saying it's not good. I'm not trying to be a negative Nancy because I'm on this channel. I'm just being honest. But at the same time, I think when you're a person who doesn't like to accept good and you want great, you almost gotta go, all right, guys, well played. I'll give you props for that. But this is the standards. And I think that's the difference between, I'm not a manager, but that's the difference between when a Jose Mourinho was managing, or do you know what I mean? Like a Sir Alex was managing, or a Pep. The reason why they're so successful, your Ancelotti's, is because they don't just go, okay, cool, yeah, this was good. I remember seeing Jose. Jose's my favorite manager of all time. I don't care what anyone says. Like, facts. Yeah, because it was just a time when he came and it was just special for football, right? He'll go, you're going to get 3 points here, here.
Yeah, I've literally seen him do that.
Bro. And the funny thing is, it would happen. But that is the mentality you need. And the reason why I guess some Arsenal fans are reactionary, which again, you'll see me being reactionary sometimes on other channels when I'm playing the role. But then at the same time, sometimes it's also a little bit of frustration, Joey, is because we've been, 20 years or without title. Of course. You get a bit jittery with certain things. Do you get where I'm coming from? Naturally, you get jittery because you go, oh God, I've been here before, and gosh, and we saw what happened last season. So I'm not saying I'm mad. You just can't. I'm just basically just going 6 points there that we should have done.
I've got a lot of friends that are Arsenal fans, man, and we'll have these sort of conversations. And I think because of the dirt that my club have been in over the past sort of 2 years or so, I'm very much like, mate, you're winning games week in, week out. I'd bite your hand off, to be able to have that opportunity. But then I suppose
you got a couple of Champions Leagues behind your back as well, and a few league titles. You know what I mean?
You were speaking about Jose there, it just come into my head. Do you know, before a ball was kicked, he said, we'll win the league at Bolton. He had looked at Chelsea's fixtures. He went, that's where we win the league at Bolton. So bearing in mind, that season we only got beat by one team. We were close to an invincible season, We only got beat by Man City. We got beat by Man City in the league, and that was it. A Nelka penalty, which VAR was
how many games did you lose that season? Just one?
One. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, we lost the one game,
Wow.
Yeah. Someone could prove me wrong in the comments, but no, I'm pretty sure it's one. Yeah. Wow. Anelka in the Premier League, I think it's a weeknight, I remember, against Man City before the takeover, obviously. So, yeah, it's mad. But
there's some managers and players, I was saying to you off camera, as much as I'm an Arsenal fan and obviously I want us to do well, I'm one of those football fans, man. If I like your player or your manager, I love Pep. Do you know what I mean? But I love Jose. Big fan of it. Even as much as I love Wenger and he's but you've got to be able to look at players for me, Drogba. What did I say to you out there?
Yeah.
What did I say?
Best African player ever.
But I also said to you, King of Africa for me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's football, man. It's just football. You got to love it.
Yeah. It's crazy. Looking back on the Premier League, how things were, and then how transitions happen. Obviously, when I was growing up, it was Arsenal against Chelsea, and that's why when I came into this match, I always had that massive match feeling. For me, even though obviously it's my club that in question, it's not like a second against 10th. That's not the match. It's a London derby. It's a massive match. And I always thought that Chelsea were going to play well in that match because we played well against Liverpool. We now played well against Arsenal. You know, we will play well against Spurs. Those sort of matches where teams really come to win. And I understand almost the dark arts of football. I understand that, you know, games need to be managed and sort of nurtured in the right way. And obviously sometimes a win is worth its weight in gold, you know what I mean? And you can come and you can nick a goal on the counter-attack and you can get a win. So I'm not underplaying that. And, you know, if you get 3 points, it's deserved. But teams that really come to beat us, like Arsenal would have had the intention the other day of not only beating us, but putting a few past us, putting 3 goals past us. And teams that come to do that against us, we're always going to fare really well against. So that's why when I look at the table at the minute, and I look at the teams that are above us, I'm sort of looking at it, individual matches, and I'm like, I think we can beat all of them. But then I'm also a realist, and I know that we could also lose to all of them. So I want to play a little game with you now.
Go on.
Higher or lower? I'm going to read you out the teams above us, and you tell me whether we finish higher or lower than them. And this is good because this is a neutral perspective. Now, I'll caveat it now and say we're not finishing above Arsenal. I understand that. So that's sort of your horse out the race here, but I'll still read it out. So in 9th, obviously Chelsea in 10th. In 9th, we got West Ham.
Higher.
This is the one I'm interested in. In 8th, we got Man United.
Higher.
Yeah. Sorry, Flex. In 7th,
Flex.
7th, we got Brighton.
See, for me, I don't want to ruin your game here, but anyone who's been watching me on your channel for the last 2 videos, I think you finish 6, really. So, saying that, it's a weird one with Brighton. I'll probably say, for now, I'll probably say lower.
No, I'm not sure on Brighton, you know.
Really?
Like, Brighton.
Do you reckon there's a hype, but then there's more going on behind the scenes that the casuals are not seeing?
Yeah, I mean, Brighton are Brighton, aren't they? Like, they're class, and I completely understand that. But sometimes teams that play that style of football eventually get found out. And I think with Brighton, I've been waiting and waiting for it to happen. And now I've got to the point where I'm like, do you know what? I'm wrong. Like, they're just that class. And they are. And I think they can go and put teams to the sword and do really well against the bigger teams, nicking a draw against Liverpool the other day. But you look at some of their results this season, I mean, they've already lost 3 games, which obviously even you look at Chelsea, like 3 spots below them, we've only lost 3 games. You can score goals against Brighton. They can have goals put past them, you know. So I'm just, that's the only one where I'm like, And as well, speaking from my personal sort of point of view, obviously we've beat Brighton, you know, twice over the last 2 months or so. So
I think it's going to be really tight between you, Brighton, and United.
I think so.
So I think they're the 3 where it's a bit like,
yeah,
you could all finish within each other's positions.
Point of each other.
Yeah. Like
and then unfortunately, with that being the table how it is, that means one of us miss out on European football altogether. So it's crazy how competitive it is. I'll just rattle from Newcastle.
Lower.
Villa.
Higher.
Higher, yeah. Villa are looking good, man.
It's tough, isn't it?
Obviously, I'm going to say I think we finish higher.
Do you know what the problem is? It's good, this game, because I have you finishing as 5th or 6th, but then that could easily be 7th if Villa do well. Do you know what I mean? Like, so it's a bit like.
So let's simplify this last bit.
Oh, this is tricky. You've
got us finishing about 5th, yeah.
5th or 6th.
Name me the teams in your head that finish above us.
All right, for me, it's Arsenal or City first. First or second, take that as you wish. 3rd, I think Liverpool finished 3rd. 4th, I say Newcastle. I could be wrong, but I do say Newcastle for now.
I genuinely do think Newcastle finish above us. They got goals, man.
For now. 5th and 6th and 7th, it could either be Brighton United or Chelsea. But then with Villa in the mix. I didn't even mention Spurs. Oh, we're gonna have to redo the whole video. Oh, this is a tough one. This is tough.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So that's what I'm saying. As a Chelsea fan, I can give you an Arsenal, a Liverpool, a City. I understand that, and I'm all right with it. But then I'm like, well, if Spurs finish above us and Newcastle finish above us, then it's sixth, and there's no Champions League.
And then there's Brighton and United as well,
Brighton, Villa, United, all tough. It is so competitive up there. It's crazy.
You could be looking at seventh, man.
That's the best thing we were speaking a lot about when we were growing up watching football. No one was cracking that top four. Everton done it once. It was a bit of a blip. No one was cracking it. Now, okay, you can pretty much predict the top two teams most seasons. Saying that, I don't think a lot of people would have predicted Arsenal as the second place team at the start of last season.
And this season, the third team, it could be anyone.
Anyone.
Literally.
Crazy.
I thought United were a shoo-in.
We will come back to that, and obviously we're sort of regroup on that when we can.
Let us know in the comments, people. Yeah. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. It's just generally very difficult.
When Pochettino came into Chelsea, I was unconvinced. We had heard rumours of him coming for a very long time. And do you know what it is? Being that Spurs are our biggest rivals, right? I completely understand that Pochettino was the man at Spurs. He led them to their most successful and I would say most competitive point in my lifetime.
Yeah.
However, he's a Spurs manager. So I'm not going to be romancing up a Spurs manager. I'm not going to be looking that deep into his man management, his psychology, what he does for the players, the way he gets an arm around a player, the way he brings the best out of these young players. I'm not really looking at that. I'm just like, yeah, he's a Spurs manager. He's doing well with them. And I'd never really looked at him on that deeper level. And sort of, I feel a bit embarrassed now, but at the time my stance on it was like, do I want to form a Spurs man? And I sat down with you, and this was the first time we met. And you said to me, look, you don't understand the manager you're getting here. And I'm thinking, we never won anything with Spurs. He won a league with PSG, but everyone does, and he didn't win one of them. And you sort of educated me a bit. So what was it you saw at Poch? And before I go on from it, you changed my mind on Poch, and I was like, right, okay, Joel's having him. I'm having him now. But what was it you saw from Pochettino that made you so confident that he was the man for this job?
Well, from the days in Southampton, I knew one or two of the players back then, and this coaching staff, and I would ask them about Poch back in the day. Like, obviously, I used to like him when he was there in general. I thought, who's this guy getting a translator? And like, what's going on? Remember, like when he?
I was so impressed at how quickly he learned English.
I just think
he rocked up and he was speaking Spanish in the interview, and I was like, God, I don't know about this sort of thing. But 3 weeks he's talking English. I'm like, God, this bloke's like switched on.
Yeah, I think they told him at Spurs that he couldn't do that anymore. Yeah. But basically from then on, I thought, this guy's serious, you know. This guy's got some serious patterns of play. This guy really, you know what I mean? He makes his teams difficult to beat. Then obviously we saw what he did at Spurs. Let's be real, Spurs were always like a team that, you know, they've got a name in it, but I think he made them, again, tough to beat. You know, they became City's bogey team. They became, like, you know, United's bogey team. Really difficult to beat Spurs. And you go, you know what? Did what he did, got him to the Champions League final, helped to make Harry Kane the monster he is. Son, you look at all that stuff and you go, you know, he got the best out of Dele Alli. I know it was a different time and there was personal stuff going on now, but I just looked at him and I thought, brilliant manager, like most people. And when they sacked him, I knew it was a bad decision, even though they had got in Jose, right, who it was difficult to like to hate, because like I said, I really loved the guy. I just thought that's a bad move because Poch is one of those guys that needed time. Anyway, he goes to PSG. It's a bit up and down, but it's always going to be political there when you're managing Messi, Mbappe, and Neymar, especially during those times. But I sat down with him, me, Rio, and Steve, and even before we sat down and we did the interview, bro, I get to meet players and managers all the time, and the presence and the aura that guy has, I kid you not, I've been around the best of them, and it's up there with headmaster vibes. Like, what he does really well, and I can see he's doing this at Chelsea, is he knows how to put that wall up and be like, I'm the manager, I'm running the whole environment. So, for example, your boys are doing like a lot of like workouts now, where like trainings where before they might go to the gym and skip a few sessions and stuff like that, like neglected a little bit. But now he does things like he'll stand there and he'll make sure that he watches these sessions where players are not cutting corners. He's on it. But then at the same time, when he wants to befriend you and make you feel like you're part of him, he does. He did that against Arsenal. I can't remember if it was Cole Palmer. There was one player, like, he did something. He grabbed him and he whispered in his ear, like, I can't remember who it was.
I think it might have been Malo Gusto.
Was it?
Yeah, I
can't remember, but I just look. You know, it's those things, that. And besides that, he's tactically brilliant. Do you know what I'm saying? But it's the discipline that guy has in and around the place. The only thing that's going to stop him from being successful at Chelsea is time, because we don't know how. I still don't know how Todd operates on a long space of time. Yes, we saw what happened at Potter, but I feel like with Potter, I think Potter, he really had no choice after a while. Do you know what I mean? Like, he looked like he completely lost the dressing room. But with Poch, the way he handles players on a one-to-one and a group setting, and the structure and discipline he has, bro, that's a top manager right there, man. And he's just in an era where it's really hard to win something. I think he will, but it's not easy, innit? So.
I think that discipline factor you spoke about there, though, is like such a fine line, because it's like, I heard the story, right? Do you remember, what was it, Brentford outran Man United in that game that they lost 4-0, right, at the start of last season? Brentford outran United by, I think it was 17 kilometres or 14 kilometres over the match. And Ten Hag made them make up that 14 kilometres, whatever it was, 17, the next day in training, right? Okay. And I was like, it's a bit... And then I heard he joined in and did it with them.
Oh, really?
And I was like, I like that.
Yeah,
so it's like,
it changes it completely, innit?
Yeah.
We're a team.
It's a masterstroke, in my opinion. It's like, look, you got to do that, but I'm with you. We're a team. I'm doing it with you. By hook or by crook, I'm getting it done. And obviously, little things like that, little touches like that, are things that are, really impress me, because I look at them and I'm like, yeah, that's good, man. You've took a slightly negative situation and you've made sure you've stomped your authority on it, but also you've give leverage to be like,
team,
I'm here with you.
Setting. Yeah, that's really good.
The way that Poch can get his arm around players, do things like that, is brilliant. Like, you look at the job he came into. It's a mess, mate. He's the most successful manager of our former rivals. Yeah, he's still dealing with an overbloated squad. He's still dealing with an injury crisis. He's dealing with owners that are far from conventional, to say the least. Having to manage a lot of different personalities, and it's a squad that's thrown together. Like, you take away, a lot of our long-serving players in the summer, and now we're left with our longest-serving players being like Trevor Chalobah. He's not even in and around the first team at the moment. You know what I mean? Like, then you're looking at Thiago Silva, players like this, who ultimately aren't long-serving players. Conor Gallagher, the whole summer we're trying to sell him. We're trying to shift him all summer. And now that's one thing listen, that's what you see, the Super League protests. If Chelsea try and put Conor Gallagher back on the transfer market now, there will definitely be some protests. So what I'm saying is, Pochettino has come into a hostile environment, to say the least, in terms of chaos. Everything going on everywhere.
I think chaos. I don't think hostile is the right word.
Yeah, maybe not hostile, because actually he's got a lot of love from the fans and things like that. But chaotic environment is definitely the word. And in such a short amount of time, he's not only been able to sort of put out fires and get his arm around players and sort of tighten the group up, but not only that, he's managed to develop a style of play already. Now, I'm not saying that this isn't one phase and we're going to progress on to the next one, but I am looking at it and I'm thinking, it's crazy, because after 20 games under Ten Hag, I couldn't have told you, even now at the minute, I don't really know if I can tell you what Man United do in terms of how they play. Yeah. At the minute, they get the wins when they haven't played well.
It looks like it's moments.
Moments from big players that are pulling them over the line, Arteta, he was a little bit different. I started to see quite early on what he was doing with Arsenal, but the results weren't always going his way. But I do think it's commendable to have come into a club and this quickly on to be able to go, right, I sort of know how Chelsea play now. And he's got an identity already. So that's something that I'm just absolutely buzzing about with Pochettino at the moment.
Got a good squad, man. Like I keep saying, time with him.
There's one last thing I want to do with you, Joel. Again, I take it back to that first sort of studio session we had together. And we did a little game where we were doing player swaps. So, at the time, you told me, I said, if you could take one Chelsea player and I'd take one Arsenal player, right? At the time, your Chelsea player you would have opted to take was Enzo Fernandez. Now, this was before the resurgence of Conor Gallagher, the signing of Caicedo and a few other players that had came in. It was during the summer, obviously. Would it still be, if you were able, and look, I'll give you a bit of context for this. Say, for example, right, I wanted a player that could fit into your side. So I would love to just say Saka, but we have got, multiple wingers at the clubs. Cool, Saka's better than most of them.
They're not better than Saka.
No, he's better than most of them, but do we need that player? So I want it as a player that you guys need. Yeah, who would you be taking?
Tough, though, because then can't say that you need Enzo because we've got the creativity of Odegaard. Do you see what I mean? Like, but he's still the player I would take if I'm honest, because I just absolutely love the guy. I think he's just class, innit? Like, but, and again, the other player I would pick would be Reece James.
I knew it was going to be Reece, yeah.
Mate, bro, this guy is just another, like, honestly, it's just injuries with that guy, you know, seriously. Because as a player, character, everything, great.
We need to be careful how we ease Reece back in now,
please,
I think.
Man.
Because
need him for England.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And before, when like Reece was coming back, it was like, right, let's just get Reece in and hope things turn around. We're all right now. I'm not saying we're flying, but we're all right. Do you know what I mean? Like, let's let Malo Gusto do his thing. Kukureya's a new man. He can play different positions across that back line. Yeah. So let's just keep giving Reece half hour here and there and maybe start him playing 90 minutes in another fortnight or so.
Does Cole Palmer play as a false nine every game for you?
Do you know what? When I'm looking at things at the minute, I don't know if I would have Nicholas Jackson back. But you know when we were saying about him playing as a false nine, it was almost a 4-4-2 with Conor Gallagher being pushed right up with him.
Really?
And that's the crazy thing.
Because you know where I'm going with this, right?
What, you'd have Cole Palmer?
I like him. You know? I think there's something about him.
Magic.
Like, from all the players that I've seen, don't get me wrong, I think, you know, Gallagher, he works hard and stuff, but I don't think we really need him. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think we've got enough players there to cover the job. But I think right about now, we don't have a lot of goals up front. Do we?
No.
You know? No. So, with the injuries that we've had, you did say the question is what we need more than anything. And as much as I think I would love a Enzo and a Reece James, they're my standout, hands down picks, where what we need right now is more goals from our number 9, whoever's playing there.
And if he was in the middle of Martinelli and Saka, whether he's scoring goals or not, he's laying on assists and creativity, and he week in, week out. So
he might be the player right now. You're probably going to ask me in a few months' time, and it'll be different. But right now, I think he is different.
It's hard from a Chelsea perspective to know who I would pick, because a lot of our areas, if I'm on about where do we need...
you got like 2-3 players.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Do you know what? I'd probably go with someone who I actually think there's an outside chance that we do get. You're not going to like it.
Ramsdale, innit?
Ramsdale. I know. Ramsdale. There's a chance there, you know.
Listen, I saw it in the papers and I thought, ooh. Like, I paused for a minute. I thought, ooh, he's still in London.
He ain't going to get... if he wants to stay in England... You know, he's not going to get a Champions League club coming for him. I do think progression-wise, you look at the age of Nick Pope, is Rambo going to want to move all the way up north to Newcastle? But that's one club there I go, right, you're a Champions League club, you're building for the future, you're a big club. That could be one, because you look at the age of Nick Pope at, 32 years old or whatever. But apart from that, if he is going to go in January...
I don't think Arsenal sell him to Chelsea in January. I don't think that happens, man.
You don't think he gets a loan?
Maybe, because it depends. If you're not challenging, which I don't think you're going to challenge, then maybe, yeah. Do you know what I mean? Saying it that way, maybe, yeah. But to sell him for like 40 mil, whatever he's going to cost, is just me saying on the top of my head, 50 mil, 40 mil to Chelsea... I don't know if that sits well.
What I would say is, you know, looking at the way this season's gone already at the early stages of it, not that Ramsdale needs a redemption arc, because he's not, you know, put a glove wrong in my opinion. However, Harry Maguire, Kukureya, you got a few players there that many were thinking needed moving on or need to go somewhere else from a personal aspect to be able to progress their career and get back into that international fold and whatnot. And I wouldn't put it past Ramsdale at all. I think when he comes back in, he could easily dislodge David Raya.
That's what I said on Vibe with 5 the other day, and they all thought I was mad. But I think he's got a great mentality, you know. And yeah, sometimes there might be some mistakes here, and I'm not saying he's perfect, but like, that's one thing about him. He's been part of this resurgence of Arsenal being strong and not so soft in the middle. So I think you're right there.
People, it has been an absolute pleasure having Joel Beya back on today. Obviously, I want you lot to let us know, as we said, little suggestions for maybe names of the show, things like that, in the comments below. Do me a massive favour. Joel's Instagram is linked in the description to this video, and also the Vibe on 5 podcast YouTube channel is also linked in the description. Head over there. Obviously, we've got the take on that will be coming out today, probably around the same time as you're seeing this. I'll be on there.
So watch this and the take on. Joey's going to be on that one.
Yeah, who's on the take on today?
Flex, your boy Flex is back.
Flex.
Anton's away this week, but Danny Murphy's on as well.
Nice. So that'd be a good show. Make sure you're subscribed. There's so much good content dropping off of there. I touched on this last week, but you've had Michael Owen on recently, Paul Scholes on recently.
Yeah. We got a Chelsea. We got a good Chelsea player coming on 5 soon.
Any
as well.
Exclusives?
It's funny because I've made the connections yesterday, and we got some players like from different clubs like across the board. So I'm trying.
If I can give you a suggestion,
go on. Yeah, I love them because
Rio's got a few TNT connections, obviously, and I know he does a lot of work there. My favourite player growing up, Joe Cole, man. Love Joe Cole.
Check out, we've got a brilliant Joe Cole interview on 5. Yeah. Oh my gosh, honestly, just type in Joe Cole 5 or 5 UK on YouTube. Stories upon stories. He talks about him at Lily Shaw, about what, you know, did he think that his career was like suffocated under Jose, like growing up with Rio, growing up at West Ham, growing up at, like playing for Chelsea, times at Liverpool. Honestly, he
playing with Hazard at Lille.
Oh man, he speaks about that a lot as well. So honestly, that is worth watching.
Madison at Coventry as well.
I don't think we touched on that.
Joe Cole played with him, yeah.
You're joking.
Yeah, massive Joe Cole fan,
I love
man.
Joe
Top
Cole.
bloke. Right, people, thank you very much for joining me. Make sure you like the video, hit the subscribe button, and also click the bell wherever it is so that you get a notification every time one of my videos goes live, and I will see you all in the next one.